Bear Mountain pine log with the towers. This is Neel Lake. I did a podcast with an old friend recently and found out some pretty unfortunate news. This beautiful area that you're seeing, all 2,500 acres of it, has been sold and is going to be developed. If you're wondering where I'm at, I am in Log WMA in North Georgia. This is a weird WMA anyways. I don't know if there are other WMAs like it. I haven't done that much research to know. So this WMA is 2,500 acres, give or take, and it is privately owned. It's still unknown or kind of up in the air if it's owned by one individual or multiple individuals. But essentially, the deal is, either way, they own all this beautiful property, and there's pastures all around that they farm through the summer, through the spring, summer, and fall. They also, however, lease the land to the state of Georgia so that it can be wildlife management area, and the state runs it. You have to have a valid hunting or fishing license or land pass to even come out here and walk. So privately owned land, state ran, or privately owned land, but it's ran by the state. You have to possess certain licenses or what have you to even be able to access the land, which is fine. I'm all for it. But as I mentioned in the first clip, it's sold and it's going to be developed. This started about 8 months ago. There was rumors that it had went up for sale. Come to find out, it actually did go up for sale. And there was a big petition out for outdoorsmen or outdoors women or outdoor enthusiasts in general to sign this petition to try to keep the property. The idea was that we could get the state to buy it and then maintain it as a WMA for everybody to enjoy. Unfortunately, the state's not buying any land. They have no interest in spending money on more public land for us. So the property sold. At the end of the day, I can't blame the landowners, because right now, or 4 months ago, or whenever the property sold, was they realized that they could cash out, and they had all this property that, they're probably getting older farmers, probably getting ready to retire. They don't want to deal with this shit no more, so they cashed out on it. Personal gain, all well and fine, but it's gonna suck to see all this beautiful land just turn into homes and stores and whatever else. 2,500 acres is a lot. I imagine they will put a lot out here. In the podcast, it was mentioned that Bartow County laid out plans for the development, but they're going to leave like 10 or 15 acres or something like that on the East Valley side of the WMA as like a green space corridor. They're probably going to build it into like a county park. It'll probably be, maintain concrete sidewalks and things of that nature, which is still good. Like, that gives a lot of opportunity for people to still go out and enjoy fresh air and the sun, but it's not going to be anything like it is now. Something I don't normally bring are these binoculars, just because they're sort of heavy and I don't want to carry them. I actually have 2 pairs. This is my pair. This is the least nice pair. I have a nice pair of Nikons at the house, but I thought it'd be kind of cool today to be able to pull the binoculars out, look up on the mountain, see what I'm trying to get into. So I was gonna come up here to this pasture and look up towards those radio towers. I don't know that I'm gonna be able to see anything because I'm looking straight into the sun at the moment, but okay, so what I learned from that is that mountain there is definitely pine log. I can't see it from here because of the way the sun is in the sky. It's creating some shadows on the valley of the mountain there. I know pine log has some big rock faces on the front of it. With the binoculars, I was able to see that just under the towers there was some big rock structure. So I'm pretty sure that far left one is pine log, which means that we're gonna come up on the middle one. I think the trail that we're hiking today is called the Bear Loop, or the Bear Mountain Pine Log Mountain Loop. So it's gonna go, or out and back, it's gonna go up, apparently up Bear Mountain and then over to Pine Log. This mountain over here is gonna be called Hanging Mountain. I've heard them called the Three Sisters. If time permits, we'll hit Bear Mountain and Pine Log first. We'll come back across and we'll hit the ridge, probably bushwhacking, and summit Hanging Mountain as well, since we're gonna be here. We're walking up on the first trail obstacle, or the first real obstacle of the hike. I mean, as you can see, it's just basically gravel road walking. Not real exciting, not real boring either. I mean, fresh air, nice and cold this morning, 32 degrees, and the sun's shining, so it's a good day to be in the woods. But All Trails describes this trail as having 2 water crossings that your feet will get wet on. We have reached the first one, which I knew about because the last time when we hiked the Sugar Creek Pond, we had to walk across this creek. And then there's another one that's on further up towards the lake called, it crosses Sugar Creek, which I think this is Sugar Creek as well. But the one up there, when we finally turn off this gravel road to start heading into the woods, I think we have to cross it again. So the real question is, how am I going to get across without getting wet? I didn't actually bring a pair of extra socks this time. However, I'm not against taking my socks and shoes off and walking across barefooted. I have done that in the past. Last time my brother and 4 crossed way down there on the other side of that bend. You gotta walk down through the woods, cross, and then walk up to the woods back to the road on that side. So I think I'm either gonna walk on the right or the left of me and see if there's any good crossings, and then we'll figure it out from there. So apparently this is the way. The road crosses right up there. You can see, maybe there's a actually pretty decently worn trail that comes right back over, and you can see where people's crossed. So I guess I'm gonna try to cross here. I'm gonna have to find me a stick, and I'll see if I can manage to use. So I ended up using this stick. Worked out really well. A little bit longer than I am tall. Came down the bank right there, boulder hopped. Everything was good. That's actually a pretty deep pool right there. I don't know if there's any fish in this creek. It's some weird, and we noticed this last time we were here, this is some weird looking water. It's got a really weird color and tint to it, so I don't know that I would ever fish in it anyways. But if you were out here and you needed food or you needed to catch some fish, it'd be good to know if there's any fish in it or not. All right, so we're gonna make our way back up here to the road, and it looks like I can see where people have kicked up the leaves coming back through. It's a pretty solid long trail actually. Yep, right up to the road. So first trail obstacle out of the way, and I'm still familiar with this. We'll go around this bend and then we'll get on a long straight going through a pasture that's really nice. It'll give us another really good view of all three of the mountains we're headed for today, so stick around, guys. So back at the very beginning of the video, I was explaining to you how this WMA works, that it's owned by some farmers or whatever. So I'm gonna show you guys this pasture. This is a good look at what goes on out here, as it being a privately owned piece of property. So this right here is some kind of little creek or river that flows through. It's just always wet, really nice spring. But on the other side, you can see pretty much as far as you can see out through there is just cornfield. So here's another good look at the mountains: Hanging Mountain, Bear Mountain, and then pine log is on around the corner there. We'll probably be able to get a better view of it once we get on up around the curve here. Right back there, right in the corner of that pasture, there was a deer when I came around the corner, so that was kind of cool to get to see that. But this is where I finally cut off of the gravel road. Right up through there and around the next bend or two is Sugar Hill Pond. So this is the way that All Trails has us going. And actually, I've been using Gaia. That's kind of my go-to app currently for GPS stuff, but Gaia actually has this trail. So instead of using the All Trails, I've just been using Gaia and kind of referencing back and forth. This is the way it has us going. So first thing we got to do right off the rip right here is cross Sugar Hill Creek. Once we get across that, I'm not really sure what we're going to be in for. The All Trails description says that it's not marked well, and if you try to follow what's marked, you'll get lost. And a lot of guys on there kept saying refer back to All Trails downloadable maps to stay on trail. If you did that, you'd be fine. But we're gonna see. Looks like I'm gonna get off kind of easy on this right away. I'm not sure why or what, but looks like there's some kind of road bridge here where they've added rock or mud or something. So that's kind of nice that they... But I did notice back there, there's some giant pipes, galvanized culverts, like they've... Well, this is a concrete culvert, so there's a culvert coming out there. So apparently, unless there's another spot where I gotta cross, this is a nice surprise, crossing this without having to get my feet wet. Sweet. Anyways, I'm not really sure what we're getting into as far as what the trail does, but another thing that I wanted to correct real quick is, for whatever reason, I thought all this was corn. But now that I'm up on it, and I noticed back there when I was up on it, it is not corn, it is actually cotton. I wasn't aware that cotton was grown this far in North Georgia, but here we are. So I'm already at a loss of what I'm supposed to do here. So I'm gonna jump off the camera, check my GPS, start navigating my way up, and I'll check back in. Found this cool little outcropping here. Actually comes out to a really nice view. I walked over there a while ago and was looking with the binoculars, but here's the view. And so I don't know how well the camera's gonna pick this up, but right roughly there's a little white house. That's my buddy Chris. Chris, what's up, brother? I'm the reason you're out here from the podcast. You know, we discussed that we're gonna this property sold and I needed to get out here. So all right, guys, the last little climb up to the summit of Bear Mountain here has been a real pain, but I think we've finally made it. There's one big tower. There's one of the tie outs for it there. And so according to the GPS, it shows there's a Forest Service road, I guess, that comes up to the tower. You can actually just follow the Forest Service road around the Pine Log, or the trail kind of goes to the left and then comes back into the Forest Service road. I think I'm going to take the trail because the trail actually goes over the summit. And I don't know why I forgot earlier that there was a tower here. I clearly showed you guys in the beginning of the video. Not sure what kind of tower it is or what it's for, but I'm sure it's real healthy for people to hang around it too. Oh well, neither here nor there. But so we're gonna top the rest of the mountain out, and then I'll see if I can find a survey marker. All right, guys, we're back to the tower. So in between the clips there of the towers, of the tower shot, there's about an hour to an hour and 15 minutes, maybe even an hour and a half of events that happened that I'm not gonna talk a lot on, and I'm not gonna post any footage or videos or pictures from the events because I could possibly incriminate myself. And so I just want to say this: I am almost 34 years old. I was taught as a young boy to respect people, respect people's property, don't trespass. And I can say with a pretty high percentage rate, like 95%, that I have maintained that mentality through my teenage years and up into adulthood. I don't even know if I can think of one time off the top of my head that I have purposely trespassed on somebody's private property when I shouldn't have been there. So without saying too much, I will say this: all trails, some of the trails that are on all trails may or may not be on private property. It should probably be distinguished if it is private or if it's not private, so that way you don't run the risk of going on private property and not knowing it. And so on top of Bear Mountain and on top of Pine Log Mountain are these giant radio towers, or cell towers, or some sort of towers, whatever they're for, I don't know. The company named PureCell owns these. They own the towers, and as the way I understand it is they own a lot of the towers in Georgia, maybe even the southeast. Now, where the towers are located is the mystery. So I know a lot of towers are on property that's leased by the cell tower company. So someone owns a piece of private property, the cell company comes in and says, hey, I want to lease this X amount of space, erect a cell tower here, I'll pay you X amount of dollars per month for 20-25 years. I actually know somebody who that happened to, and they were actually paying the girl's dad, and he passed away, so then she got the money until she was like a certain age, or until the lease ran out. Anyways, that's besides the point. So also I think that some companies may own the property that they erect cell towers on. They may buy it and then erect their tower, so they never have to deal with the lease running out or whatever. So on Pine Log and on Bear Mountain, PureCell does own the towers, and they lease the property. So the sign clearly said lease up there on the fence. The sign also clearly said no trespassing. So from the time that I left Pine Log WMA Forest Service gate on East Valley Road, I hiked 6.5 miles to that location before I seen the first no trespassing sign. Now what's confused me is there are actually no trespassing signs on top of Bear Mountain. The tower is fenced in, and of course there's a sign there saying don't mess with the tower, it's FFA regulations and stuff, which is all well and fine. But the no trespassing signs you don't actually find them until you get further down the road. So I don't know how this works, because if you look at a map, I don't pay for the plus version of Gaia or whatever, so I just have the basic topo. But I did pay for Onyx for a while, for over a year, and on Onyx it shows that Bear Mountain, Hanging Mountain, and Pine Log Mountain are all within side of the WMA. So technically that's WMA property. Now down here on this side of the mountain is Lake Arrowhead Community. I know that the WMA stops somewhere on that side. I don't know exactly where. It's down that way somewhere. So Lake Arrowhead actually has trails that are on Gaia that come up to below or on the other side of Pine Log Mountain Towers. So they actually come out onto the trail just like this Bear Mountain trail came out on Bear Mountain. So you could actually hike from where my car is parked all the way up this trail, go over Bear, go over Pine Log, jump on this trail that Gaia has marked, follow it around by what I believe are some waterfalls, and then you could end up on a forest road on the other side of the WMA near Stamp Creek. The other part that has me confused is this trail is highly trafficked. I mean, it is a very well-worn trail. According to reviews I read on All Trails, it has not been, like, some people were having trouble following it. I don't know why. I haven't had one single issue following the trail. I actually turned Gaia tracking off as soon as I left the cotton fields earlier. Up to this exact point where I'm at, I can still see mountain bike tracks in the dirt right here. There was also that trash can and grill and fire pit that I showed earlier, which makes me think they've hosted some kind of little event here where people could stop and refuel with drinks, or carb drinks, or carb slurps, or whatever you want to call them, at that event station. So is the idea that you're supposed to come from Log WMA, wherever you park, whether it be, well, on this side, it would have to be where I parked the RAV4. So you'd park at the forest gate, you would hike 6 miles up here. As soon as you hit the gravel road, you're turning around and coming back. Like, that's what you're expected to do. Just hike straight up to the road, turn around and come back. And what about on the other side, on the Arrowhead community side? Like, are they expecting you to hike up that trail past the waterfalls and then stop at the Forest Service Road before you get up to the towers and then turn around and go back? Or is it legal for hikers and mountain bikers and adventurers to use the access of the gravel road that's posted no trespassing as kind of a bridge between the two trails to make a loop hike, or to even just stop and eat lunch? It's a hard question to ask, and quite frankly, you know, like I mentioned, I'm 34 years old. I've never really trespassed all that much, and I don't really care to do anything. Like, I don't really care to trespass, especially after I bought my house and I own my own property, which I know people are going to say you really don't own your own property. I understand, but my name's on it. I pay for it. I own it. Like, I don't want people trespassing on my property, so I understand, but I'm not understanding what they're wanting you to do with the whole trail system here. Which brings me back to another point that I mentioned earlier in the video. Like, this trail didn't exist. Like, this trail's only been here for probably 2 years, 2.5 years. I'm kind of wondering if maybe this trail isn't just some hodgepodge trail that somebody threw together and people have just started using it and they're not supposed to. But the problem now is it's all over All Trails. You can find it on Google. Guy has got it listed. So it's like, it's major. So I don't know. Again, I don't want to incriminate myself, so I'm not going to list or say the events that happened, other than just I have questions about the legality of where people put posted signs and what posted signs are supposed to mean for certain areas, because it really doesn't make a whole lot of sense in this very specific area. Look familiar? It's the cotton field that we came in on earlier. So I finally made it back to here, at least. I'm gonna say to the forest road, because I can see the road across the field, but I think I'm gonna kind of wrap the video up here. There's not really anything else for you guys to see between here and the car. I mean, you've seen it on the way in. So before I close out, though, I do want to say a couple things, give you a couple updates. So the podcast has taken off and is doing not exceptionally well, but it's doing a lot better than what I anticipated on. I will still be uploading all of the podcast episodes up to the Dirtbag Adventures YouTube channel, along with short reels to Instagram, and then I have created a TikTok at Dirtbag Adventures, and it is only podcast clips from 30 seconds to 3 minutes. I post them on TikTok, then I share them to my Facebook podcast, which is Dirtbag Adventures Podcast on Facebook. Secondly, I am still going to be making content on the regular for the YouTube channel. I kind of explained this in a past video, but just to kind of reiterate it again, I have decided to pick back up into hiking, and I have some kind of aspirations and goals set for 2023 as far as hiking is concerned. So you'll be seeing quite a bit more hiking. I actually have like probably 4 or 5 videos already like concrete planned to happen. So those will be coming out over the next couple months as I do them, as I do the hikes. I've also got some, I'm going to be riding some mountain bikes again. I've kind of been on a healthy train since the beginning of the year. Been going to the gym a couple times a week. On the off days that I'm not at the gym, I'm either running or riding my mountain bike, trying to get some cardio in. So I'm gonna start getting back out to the trails, and I'll start sharing those adventures with you guys. Another thing, I've got several gear reviews planned. I've got a knife review, a sleeping bag review, a pack review, a poncho liner or wooby, whatever you want to call it, a review for that, a flashlight review. I've got a bunch of different things to review that was actually supposed to happen last year, but with the way I had done last year with YouTube, I didn't have time to do it all. So be expecting all that to come out at some point. I'm not going to give you a time or a date or explanation or none of that on when it could happen or when it will get posted. A lot of it's going to be get the content, edit it, and then within a couple days it'll be posted. So you may get 2 or 3 videos a week, or you may get 2 or 3 videos a month. It just depends on how busy I am at that specific time. Aside from that, I don't really have a whole lot there. Oh, I will be doing some shooting videos. I'm in the process of building a rifle right now that I will probably kind of go over at some point in a video. It's not my trapping rifle. This is actually going to be a first ever actual left-handed gun I've owned since I'm left-handed. It's a bolt action 22. I'm building it out with a scope and stuff, and it's going to be a gun for target shooting. It'll be for accuracy. So at some point that will be coming. I have a friend who has given me permission to explore on his property, about 60 acres, trapping, mountain biking, gold panning, whatever. At some point in the next month or so, that's going to go down. I'm going to go and kind of scout the property for the first time, and then there will probably be a few videos made from there. I'm not going to say the location now or probably in any of my videos, just for the sake of keeping it private. So be looking forward to those videos. I am planning to add a drone back to my equipment. You haven't seen a whole lot of drone footage. I think I mentioned it in the videos, but I don't remember. If I didn't, I'll tell you now. My last drone got ruined on the kayaking trip me and my brother did. I tried to fly it up, hit some tree branches, landed in the middle of the river, and I couldn't get it. I couldn't salvage it. So I do plan on buying another drone, probably within the next month or so, maybe 2 months, and I will be using it to help my videos. I also am planning to start doing my videos a little differently. Most of my videos are like this, selfie or point of view. I'm gonna start trying to get different angles and different shots. It'll also be with another camera. I will probably still keep the GoPro because it works, but I'm looking to upgrade from the GoPro. I've just had so many problems with them. I'm done. I'm gonna get a DJI action camera to match my drone, so you'll probably start seeing a little bit of differences in the quality in the next couple months, so be on the lookout for that as well. And so I can't think of anything else, so I'm gonna wrap it up here. Thanks for coming along. Thanks for all the likes, subscribes, comments. It really kicks the videos out there in the algorithm, so keep doing you, and I will catch you guys on the next one.